narco-terrorism is a bit of an invented term. There are some organizations that have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations by the United States government, and that happen to traffic in narcotics. And the allegation here is that Nicolas Maduro worked with those organizations to facilitate various activities, including the shipment of drugs and the receipt of money. So he's not himself accused of being a quote unquote narco terrorist, but instead of conspiring with groups that engage in terrorism and also the distribution of narcotics. So that's really what that charge is about.
Now, the pair have pleaded not guilty. Can they defend these charges, and is a fair trial possible?
Yeah, I think a fair trial is possible. This court, which is called the Southern District of New York, it's a federal court in Manhattan, has a tremendous amount of experience trying high-profile defendants. And so I think that the selection of an impartial jury will be challenging, but really just a matter of effort and time. And so then the question is, what will the defense try to do in order to defeat the charges? I think they will raise a number of procedural arguments, which they've already alluded to, about the manner in which Maduro's and his wife were brought to the United States to stand trial. And also they will attempt to sort of pick apart the indictment and challenge the factual allegations in the indictment to essentially argue that the government has not proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. We'll have to see how the case unfolds. Right now, it's too early to predict how it might come out.
Okay, so it'll go to the facts, but also whether the pair should be there at all. Just to pick up on that point, does the manner in which Maduro and his wife arrived, captured by US forces, can that have a great deal of effect on these proceedings?
It can have some effect, but it seems unlikely. U.S. courts have already considered arguments from other defendants who were brought before the court involuntarily in extra legal means, not involving formal extradition. That's sometimes referred to as rendition. So we have an abundant body of case law in which the courts have essentially said that it is not really their business how the defendant was brought before the court. And I think that is likely to prevail in this case. I don't think the courts are going to toss out this case simply because Maduro's and his wife were brought here forcibly after a military operation, as opposed to through some formal legal extradition procedure.
And yet that question of how, I mean, the manner in which Maduro arrived, it does create a deep constitutional concern. Tell us about that lack of constitutional approval for this.
Yeah, I think for me, as a constitutional lawyer, this is the single biggest concern. The American Constitution divides power between the legislative branch and the executive branch, which is, of course, headed up by the president. And it gives to Congress the power to declare war and also to supply an army and navy. And then the president has got what's called the commander-in-chief power. But generally speaking, it's the Congress, it's the legislative branch, which is supposed to make policy decisions. And I would say that a decision to go into a foreign country, to remove the leader of that country, and we can put aside questions of Maduro's legitimacy as leader of Venezuela, and to effect regime change, which I think is clearly what's going on here. I think those are policy decisions that our Constitution assigns to the legislative branch for democratic and deliberative decision-making, as opposed to the unilateral impulse of a single president, which is what happened in this case.
And going back to Maduro's case and his wife, their next court appearance is set for March 17. What happens between now and then?
Well, I would expect that their lawyers will be hard at work already on a variety of motions to try to get the case dismissed on various procedural grounds, some of which we've covered, involving the manner in which they were brought into the U.S., but also potentially there is some immunity for people who are legitimately the head of a foreign state. That's recognized both in domestic and international law. So I think there are a number of legal arguments that will be made between now and then. They probably won't be heard between now and then, but the briefs will be filed, and I would expect those arguments to unfold during the spring.